Hello, this is Mr. Doty, and I wanted to do a short video on how to edit your annotative objects inside of AutoCAD. So I have up here an example where I have two viewports. Here's a viewport, and here's a viewport. If you'll notice, this viewport down here, it's scaled to 1 to 1. The other viewport is scaled to 2 to 1. So how does that work? Well, it's pretty simple, obviously. I can just set the viewport to whatever I want. And as long as I have the magic triangles on, which for some reason, that one's not on, but anyway, you want these on for the most part, because what you want is anytime you change scales in your viewport, you want it to add the scale that you change it to the objects. Because if I go over here to model space, you'll notice that it's set to 1 to 1. But when I go over to here, this is scaled to 2 to 1, as you can see down there at the bottom. And everything is the right size because, this text, and this text should all be the same size. And you'll notice it doesn't change it here because this is just drawn full size. Okay? So we don't scale it here. We actually scale it over here. So we draw everything full size. Don't scale anything up, do anything weird like that. And then over here, when you do your scaling of your viewport, it will fix it. Now, let's go back and what I was trying to get to, and let's see what happens. So what I was going to do is click on here, and if you zoom up on this, you'll notice that it has two different scales sitting there. And you're like, well, what do you mean? Well, it looks like it has a ghost behind it. And sometimes that can be annoying or distractive, when you're trying to, adjust your dimensions and move them around and so on. So what I can do to fix that is I could actually put a window around the whole thing. And up here under Annotate on your ribbon, it's the third one over, click on Annotate. That's where all your dimensions and multi-leader information, all that is. You also have your annotative scaling tools. So you've got a scale list, which will give you the list from, your annotative scales here, which is the same as your viewport scales. And then it has add, delete scales, sync scale positions. I'm not exactly sure. I guess it moves them together. I haven't needed to do that because basically what I want to do is I want to go in and click add, delete scales, because on this set I don't want them to be at 1 to 1, or I don't want to keep the ones 1 to 1 in case I need to make adjustments. Let's say you had to come back later and do some changes. So when you made your edits, you might have to redo the dimensions, move them around, something. Well, it just makes it easier if you can go in and edit these. So here we go. I'm going to pick on that one, hit delete, and hit OK. So now this only has the 1. And when I go over here to here, they're still there. They're still scaled correctly. This is still 2 to 1. So I'm in good shape. And really, that's the main thing. So if you have multiple viewports, which I have a video on how to create these and all that good stuff too. I also have a video on how to edit your dimensions using properties, using your properties palette. So those are some separate videos that you can look at if you want to, and this is my short little video on messing with annotative objects. Now you can do the same thing with your here, let me get out of this. One more thing. So this here is also annotative. Now if it was in paper space, and not paper space, model space, I'm sorry. If it was in one of these viewports, let's say, or its own viewport, because I drew it in model space, and I had it scaled to a different scale, or scaled the viewport in, it too could also be edited with this annotative scaling. So anything that's annotative, whether it's a leader, text, dimensions. You should be able to adjust the scales on them, you know, delete them, add any that you wanted to change them around. You should be able to do that using that tool right there. And that's pretty much it. So we'll see you on the next video, and just remember to always have